Your station probably sounds better than you think. And the problem really isn't the music, the talent, or the gear. It's the execution. The tiny misses that stack up and quietly kill your time spent listening. Today, I'm going to show you where those cracks are hiding and how to fix them before they cost you another book. Hi there, it's Steve Cannon with Hole in the Wall Media. With some programming tips for you today. The book is coming up in just a couple of weeks on April the 2nd. And this is the moment that I think you should really tighten the screws on what you got going on. So here are the 5 execution issues that really hurt small market stations the most and how to fix them before the book starts, all right? Number 1 is breaks that start too slowly. And what I mean by that is that listeners actually decide within the first 3 seconds whether they're staying or leaving. So most small market stations actually start with wandering intros, unnecessary setup, talent talking to themselves instead of the listener. Slow breaks actually kill momentum. What you want to do is start with a payoff. One, you want to start with the call letters first. I mean, that's the most important thing. It's the name of the radio station. It's the radio station that pays the bills. Okay, so you want to start with the call letters first, and then with your payoff, lead with the value, and then explain it. Really simple. All right. Number 2 is imaging that doesn't hit at the right time. Now, your imaging may sound really good, but if it fires at the wrong moment, it actually ruins the flow. So what I'm talking about is sweepers stepping on song intros. In other words, they're not timed out. In other words, if you have a 4-second intro and your sweeper is 7 seconds and it's supposed to lay over the intro, it sounds like crap. It does not sound good. Promos firing back to back. You hadn't scheduled your promos properly. All right. In other words, if the jock is talking about a promo of something that you've got going on, and then the recorded promo says the same thing, sounds awful. Also, IDs placed where listeners are really not going to hear them, all right? In other words, they get buried in the middle of something. You don't want to do that. Remember, execution matters more than production. Where you fire off these pieces are the most important thing. Keep that in mind. So what you want to do, here's how to fix that, is do a 15-minute imaging placement audit. You'll hear the problems instantly. What you want to do is listen to the radio station much like listeners do. Go home. Listen to it. Don't listen to it at the office. Go home and listen to it in real time. And in 15 minutes, you should be able to tell exactly what is going on. Pretty simple. One of the things that we did back at Clear Channel when I worked for them back, it's been quite a long time. Now, one of the things that we did was out-of-office listening experiments, and they were absolutely beneficial. What we would do is we would go someplace. It would be you as the program director or you as the operations manager along with the program director, and you go someplace and you would listen. Could be to somebody's house, could be to a hotel, wherever, someplace, a conference room, where you could sit and listen to radio. You bring the portable radio along, you turn it on and say, all right, here is what's going on. The program director would have to tell me, all right, what was going to happen in the next 15 minutes or in the next hour. Do you know how many program directors can't tell you that? Yeah, there's quite a few. In other words, you want to say, well, the jock is going to talk here. All right. We're going to play a jingle here. We're going to do the weather here. We're going to do a sweeper here. It's those types of things that you need to have the radio station locked down tight. All right. These were very beneficial. A lot of the times, most program directors sit in their office, they schedule music, they have meetings, and the radio station is on in the background. Are they actually listening to it? No, they're doing other things. So an out-of-office listening experiment is one thing to do. I highly recommend it in the next couple of weeks before the spring book starts. All right. Number 3 are promos that have been running too long. Promos actually get really, really stale, just like commercials get really, really stale. If a promo's actually been running for more than a few weeks, listeners just kind of tune it out. They stop listening to it. It becomes wallpaper. Back in the day, we used to write a series of promos. So if we had a big cash giveaway, for example, that we were doing, what we would do is right out of the gate, we would go ahead and write a series of, say, 7 promos. All right. So one for a week. So in other words, promo A would run the first week, promo 2 would run the second week, promo 3 would run the third week, etc., etc. Sometimes, depending on what would happen, we might change them up a couple of times a week. Just keeps it fresh. Maybe different effects, maybe different voice inflections, how it's done, how it's presented. Keeps your contest fresh, but it also keeps the radio station sounding fresh instead of, it's the same old thing and just kind of blends in. Doesn't do well for you. So what you want to try and do is refresh one promo every week between now and April the 2nd when the book starts. It's a good idea. Just one. It keeps the station actually feeling alive. All right. Number 4 is talent that isn't resetting the station. Now, resetting is one of the most underrated skills in radio. It's when the talent actually forgets to reset. New listeners feel lost. Existing listeners lose context. The station sounds less intentional. A simple reset can actually save a break. So what you want to do is teach your talent to reset naturally, not mechanically once a break. Really simple. What they want to do is start off with the call letters, give their name, do things like that, where they're not thinking about that. Instead, that's already set into their muscle memory. You want them to just go ahead and do that, and then they spend more time actually figuring out what they're going to say. If it's a funny bit, if it's a localism, so on and so forth. They can focus on that instead of, I got to remember to do call letters. I got to remember to say my name. Yeah, these are the things you want built into the muscle memory, and then you can work on other things that are actually very, very important. All right, and you could do this in your talent critique sessions. I always used to, just remind them that these are very, very important. Too many times I listen to the radio today, and one of the last things I hear are the station call letters or the logo of the radio station. It's like you go on and on. With as much competition out there for the ear, guess what? You need to tell them who you are. And in small markets like you're in right now, it's the most important thing that you can do. I think we've gotten away from that, and I think it's actually killed radio is because of that kind of stuff. Number 5 is there's no listener experience test. That's right. Most program directors actually hear their station in pieces. Listeners actually hear it as a whole. If you're not listening like a listener, then you're programming blind. So what you want to try and do, like we talked about a little earlier, is do a weekly 15-minute drive with no notes, no distraction, no PD brain. Just listen to it. You'll hear everything that needs tightening. Maybe once a week or whatever. Go on out, go for a drive, go someplace, and do that by yourself. Take a notepad. I used to take a notepad with me, and it was where I would drop my notes onto it, my ideas, I should say, onto the notepad. So what you're doing is you're writing things as come to your mind. Maybe a song needs to be tightened at the end. It's a cold ending, and all of a sudden there's a loose gap there before your promo starts, your jingle starts. You want to be able to tighten that up. Write it down. Write down what exactly it is, and that way you might have a list. You go in the next day and you tighten it up, or you head back to the radio station and you tighten it up. It's amazing the things that you will hear. Just listen to everything that is on the radio station. It has to be perfect. Remember we talked about in the previous podcast, the nuts and bolts are what make great radio stations. Remember, the bottom line out of all of this is that your station is really probably better than you think. It really is. The talent is stronger than you really give them credit for. The music is solid. If you're playing the hits, guess what? You're probably going to score well. Your brand is there. It's really the execution that separates the really good stations or okay stations from the really great stations. And guess what? The great stations are the ones that actually win. And remember something. With the spring book just weeks away, we're about a month away right now. Execution is the one thing that you can improve right now. In the next couple of weeks, that's what you need to do. You really do. I'm one of these kind of guys that actually believes that the spring book or the fall book or whatever, or the ratings book, the spring book and the fall book, that's the only time that you really focus on things. And then, during the winter months and the summer months, we kind of let it go. I play for the book every single day. It doesn't matter. 365 days a year, I play for the book. 366 on leap year, I play for the book. I play every day like it's a ratings day. And as a small market program director, I think you should too, because if you want to move up in the world in programming, when you get into diary markets, or when you get into meter markets, or when you get into continuous measurement markets, the book is always on. There's no slack time. So you really want to try to improve what you do all the time. There's always something that you can improve on. There's not a perfect radio station out there. I bet you if I listen to your radio station, I'll find something wrong with it. Yeah, something that you're not doing, something that's off. It's not because I want to hurt your feelings. It's because I'm looking for perfection. You should always look for perfection. So I got something for you. What's the one execution issue that you hear on your station every week, that you're not happy with? What is it? I would love to hear about it. And, if you put it in the comments here, I'm going to tell you what. I'll help you shape that with next week. We'll talk about that. All right. And this is all a part of the weekly article series that you can find on LinkedIn. So you want to check it out. And remember, if your station sounds better than you think, but the execution's holding you back, well, it's all fixable, like we talked about. And it starts with tightening the fundamentals every single day. If you want help diagnosing your execution gaps, just reach out. I'm Steve Cannon, and this is Inside the Log. And, well, here's something for you. If budget is tight for you, I can keep a few barter slots open right now for stations with strong inventory but limited cash. I'll give you the same support, structured much differently. All right? I can help you out. It's not going to cost you any money, just a few spots. All right? Steve Cannon wrapping things up. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out. HoleInTheWallMedia.com is my website.